as you're coming in. We are at the final end of our 2-day conference, and we have a fantastic panel for you. Entrepreneurial Journeys, Reflections on Starting and Growing a Business. So welcome. We will just have a couple of quick housekeeping things. Captions, if you would like to turn those on, just click the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can also, if you prefer, access captions via the stream text in either English or Spanish by clicking on the link in the chat box that you are able to access right now. ASL interpretation is here for the entire session. There will be 2 interpreters and they will alternate throughout the session. If you have questions for the presenters, and I am sure you will, then please put those into the Q&A box. Keep the chat box for sharing information about yourself or talking to each other, and questions specifically, put those in the Q&A so we don't miss them. Also, if you have any technical difficulties, you can also put those in the Q&A, or you can click on the live chat button in the menu bar and use the tech support chat room as well. And if neither of those are working, you can also send us an email at info@disabilitysmallbusiness.org. info@disabilitysmallbusiness.org. That's also the email you can use to reach us if you have questions, comments, things down the road after the event. The contact information for our wonderful panel can be found by clicking on this session on the live events page of the website. So remember that, and all of the information, all of the PowerPoints from the entire 2 days are also there on the live events page. And on Monday, you will also be able to go back into this into the section and see that the recordings are there. So the recordings for anything you may have been missed, you will be able to do that on Monday. Okay, with that, I am delighted to welcome Neena Massey, founder and artistic director of Neena Expressions. She's going to be moderating this thought-provoking discussion for us today. Neena is a multidisciplinary artist, educator, and therapeutic coach. She is also a visionary behind Denver's annual community gathering, now in its 5th year. So Neena, I am so happy that you're here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction. I am so excited to be talking to 4 small business owners today, and we are going to hear about them and have them introduce themselves. So I would like to start with Phoenix. Could you tell us about yourself and then briefly tell us about your business?
Hi, everyone. I am a mother of 2 sons, and my business is WheelchairAbility, and I'm the inventor of the Reacher Keeper.
Great. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you so much. Next, we'll go with Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Thank you so much. My name is Kevin Dalin, and I'm calling in from Iowa, and I'm glad to be here. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. 1 second. I identify as a white man with blue eyes and glasses, and I have short reddish blonde hair and a beard that's a little red with some white in it, maybe more and more white every day. I'm wearing a blue polo shirt. I'm a father and grandfather. I'm passionate about making life accessible and using technology to break down barriers. Whether I'm working one-on-one with clients or collaborating with professionals, I really strive to create solutions that make a meaningful impact. I created assistive technology company to support individuals meet their goals. Tech for Impact was created while going back to school, where I was working on a rehabilitation counseling degree. And I subsequently finished and continued to work my business and work with agencies like the Veterans Administration, the Voc Rehab Services here locally, Department for the Blind, Iowa Workforce, and other individuals who aren't receiving any services from agencies.
Great. Thank you so much for telling us that. Next, let's hear from Loopy.
Hey, you can just call me Loopy. It's what I'll remember to respond to the most. I am the of the Loopy Spoonie, which is primarily a product for the past 6 years. The primary part being a handmade soap business, primarily, which I say a lot, vegan bath and body that is specifically catered to everybody whose allergies are usually ignored. I myself am allergic to 26 plus ingredients, which you can imagine makes it a little bit hard to find products on anywhere. So I like to formulate using cosmetic chemistry, soap chemistry, etc., for people who are like me, and also work accessibility into those products, whether it is the way the products are shaped, whether they're in. I try to make sure that what I'm doing is accessible. There's also a service side, which you'll hear a little bit about later. All I'll say is I'm bringing my corporate experience plus my product business experience to help other product-based businesses.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And finally, let's hear from Ron.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Ron Brooks. I am coming to you from Mesa, Arizona, and I have a company called Accessible Avenue. And Accessible Avenue is a B2B company. So we are selling to actually the public transit industry. I'm a person who is blind and who has spent my entire life as a pedestrian and user of public transportation. I've worked in the industry for 32 years and founded Accessible Avenue to provide accessibility-focused consulting and training to the public transit industry, and that includes transit agencies, transportation providers, including like transportation network companies, and yeah, all those different providers who support that industry. And then I also work for a company called User that does on-demand paratransit. And I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So glad that you're all here. So we're going to go into question 2 now. And the next question is, what was your why for starting your business? And this time I would like to go in reverse order, if you don't mind. So Ron, would you like to start us off with that answer? It is, what was your why for starting your business?
So it's actually funny though. I mean, there's the practical why, and then there's like the big picture why. The big picture why is that as a person who is blind, and I'm a parent of 3 adult children, my wife is also blind as well, and I have her permission to share that. We have never been able to drive a car, so we had to raise our kids as blind people. And experiencing transportation, as anyone with disabilities knows, transportation is a challenge. We lived our lives without it, and we used public transit to the best of our abilities. We used services like paratransit and different things, and it's always hard. And the accessibility, it's not even just hard because it's hard, but it's made harder by the lack of accessibility, by the lack of awareness of staff, almost none of whom have lived experience, so they don't understand how services impact people with disabilities that they're trying to serve. I had spent 30 years in the transportation industry working on accessible transit and paratransit, and had gained a lot of experience and across the industry. So when I was working for another company and COVID hit, and revenues in transportation went to almost none, and they let me go because they had no money to pay me, it seemed like the perfect time to start my own business. And so that is why I formed a company. But it's to do something that I've always cared about. And we just had our 5-year anniversary. So that's the story.
Wow, congratulations. That is a great story. Thank you so much. How about Loopy? Would love to hear your why. What was your why for starting your business?
The primary why, honestly, I was exhausted by not finding products, not just on the bath and body side, but in general, that catered to or even remembered that it'd be nice to be accessible, it'd be nice to be transparent in what was in it. On the soap side, again, I mentioned 26 plus allergies, but also I have mobility limitations that make it hard for me to hold things, makes it hard for me to not accidentally fling them across the room. I have things that limit my energy levels. So when it comes to packaging, I was finding myself exhausted when I'd order something and people will use the like package filler that spills and gets everywhere. And it's just like, I get it, eco-friendly, but also now I have to figure out how much energy can I allot to actually pick this up. And so like it was little things like that that just kind of kept adding up. And then if you see on my website, there are other product types. Like I am also a metalsmith, and my business actually started with fiber arts. Like most of us, I assume we're multi-passionate in many ways. But even in those aspects, in those industries, I just kept finding things that irked me, like bracelets and that never seemed to fit over my wrist braces, or rings that looked great, but there was no way to have them adjustable. There's just so many accessibility gaps in so many industries. So I figured let's put my history as a business analyst, data nerd, together with the design and actual product side and put something together that maybe work for not just me, but other people who are equally as frustrated. The biggest thing, accessibility belongs at the forefront of design and every process. And right now it's mostly an afterthought if it's considered at all. And I'm not okay with that. So I'm gonna see what I can do to kind of push the needle a little bit.
Neena, you're on mute, just to
Oh,
let you
okay.
know.
Okay, sorry about that. Great story, Loopy, and thanks for sharing. And next, let's hear from Kevin, your why for starting your business.
Thank you. Great question. I experienced a mental health disability, and life as I knew it came to a screeching halt. Um, that included lots of losses, job, house, car, those kinds of things. I spent a few years stuck, but towards the end, when I started rebuilding, I wanted to really help. Once I kind of reached that stability point, was being able to care for myself, and really had things in place for self-care, I really then wanted to turn to help other people get unstuck. And I ended up discovering a program at a local university that would allow me to help people. But organically, and as things often happen, things pivot a little bit. I discovered that I was really good with technology and helping my fellow peers in class with technology. And so I started building towards really working with assistive technology through my experiences at school. And I became passionate about helping people meet their goals through technology, whether that be software that reads to them or devices that help them interact with the computer. Whatever it is, I'm there to help. I happen to have a very high threshold for technology frustration that allows me to troubleshoot, enjoy it, have fun with it, and figure out ways to make technology work best for the people that I'm working with.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Kevin. All right, Phoenix, what was your why for starting your business?
I started a business because after I retired from working for the federal government, I decided that I might as well go ahead and try on some of those things that I've always wanted to do, that the job prevented me from doing because it was monopolizing my time. And from that point, once I lost use, full use of my left hand, I had to find a solution so that I could be able to still be independent and still be able to function. Um, my wife is starting it. I watched too much of Shark Tank. Made me believe that I could actually do it myself, so I'm doing it.
That's good. That's inspirational. I love to hear that. Thank you so much. And our next question is going to be, what types of supports and resources have helped you along your journey? So this time, let's go ahead and start with Kevin.
Great. The one thing that really stands out was being able to find mentors that supported what I was doing. And I happened to have access to professors at school, and two naturally rose to the top of supporting me in my process. And I think that was incredibly helpful because the days that I did not feel particularly positive about where things were going, I was able to lean on my mentors and receive encouragement and direction and thoughtful advice, which of course I was asking for. So I would say the mentors were the number one resource that really helped me along.
Excellent. Thank you. How about Loopy? What types of supports and resources have helped you along your journey?
I was primarily self-funded for the first 5 or so years. It wasn't until last year when I found out that vocational rehabilitation is something that I could lean into to help, not just with figuring out employment, but also with making self-employment be actually feasible. So I was in corporate until 2023. And then suddenly I wasn't, like so many people have been. And I was finding myself confused and worried about how am I gonna like actually make this something that can sustain me. And then somebody at vocational rehabilitation, shout out to Glenda, was like, we can help with this. Vocational rehabilitation can help with either like materials, startup funding. There's so many things vocational rehabilitation can help get the ball rolling on. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. And it came at the perfect time because I was at a time where I'm trying to grow my business. I no longer have the funds for my corporate position to do that. And then through Voc Rehab, I ended up actually getting in touch with NDI, and it was so fantastic and has been fantastic with everybody who I've gotten a chance to meet with. I feel like I can actually scale my business up into something sustainable without burning myself out too much. Because again, I do have a business and data analytics background, but that doesn't necessarily mean I wouldn't burn myself out trying to do it all by myself. So, yeah.
That's great advice. And I'm so glad you mentioned Folk Rehab because I think that's a resource that a lot of people don't know about and could benefit from. So thank you so much. Next, let's hear from Ron. What types of supports and resources have helped you along your way?
So I'll say as far as money goes, I'm not sure if it was good fortune or bad fortune, but I had the good fortune to have a severance agreement when they let me go during COVID, which was definitely helpful because for obvious reasons. And it was also motivating. It created a sense of urgency. I knew exactly how long it would last. So I had about that long to figure out how to make money. And there were no jobs at COVID. I mean, during that time, it was like finding work was not easy. So anyway, that was the motivation to move. But honestly, having a clear mission, I list that as a resource because uh, this was not a case of I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I knew exactly what I wanted to work on. And that actually did two things. One, it gave me urgency, but it also lowered the stakes because I knew that if I'm working on my mission, it doesn't matter what shape the work takes. If the business doesn't succeed, I'm still working on my mission. I'll find something else. But mission was number one. Having a network of people, I surrounded myself pretty quickly with a group of other entrepreneurs and other people who are working on their own businesses, so that I had people that I could talk to, and that I could, kind of like Kevin talked about, bounce ideas off of, get help, get encouragement, give encouragement, just be on the path with somebody else. Also creates good accountability because we all gave each other permission to push each other and to ask each other those hard questions and to share those hard things. So those were all things that were helpful. The other thing I would say is just the willingness to read and reflect and write and learn and try. Um, Half of being an entrepreneur is the stuff that goes on in your head. It's thinking like an entrepreneur. It's making decisions. It's recognizing that you're in charge, and what that looks like. All of those things were, and then of course the obvious, having people in my network who needed my services. All those things were pretty important also.
Great, thank you. That's great advice. Having a mission, a network, and then learning more about your business as you go, that's really great advice. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Phoenix, let's hear from you. What types of supports and resources have helped you along your journey?
I attended every start your business workshop that I could find in my immediate area. I started with SCORE. They could help you getting a mentor that could guide you along within your the field of study. A lot of community centers these days, they have a section that will support business ideas in allowing people to explore their opportunities. I had another organization. It was called Women Entrepreneurs of Baltimore. I went through their program as well. They supported all female businesses, and that the graduation point, we had to have a business plan that was fully prepared to be presented to funding. And as far as funding, I have creatively done this amongst credit cards. Also, what I want to Social Security has a program called the PASS program. And what that can do is allow you to continue to get in your benefits, but they will allow you to use any other money that you have to not count against your benefits. And you could use that money up to 18 months to help you work on your business. And that is what I used in the initial stages. I used to work for Social Security, so I was aware of the program, and then I utilized it. So for all of us who are on the disability, I highly advise you to check in with Social Security about the PASS plan. As long as you could document what you want and how it will help you be independent, that's a good place to start for money.
Sorry, I got kicked off, but I'm back. So Phoenix, I was going to ask you, how do you people find out about that program?
It's called the PASS, the Plan to Achieve Self-Sufficiency.
Okay, great. And people can find out about that through Social
The
Security.
Social Security Administration. Um, Usually if you have extra income when you have an SSI, they count you out and cut you off. But with this program, it shelters you for up to 18 months. And if you need it to be extended, it can be extended, which I did as well. So I basically had access to that money for like 3 years. And that helped me with my initial funding for my business. And I was able to keep my benefits and explore my business.
That is wonderful because I think that's something that a lot of people worry about. So great. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So our next question is, how has your business transformed over time? And we're going to start with Loopy this time. So Loopy, how has your business transformed over time? What would you say?
Well, I started in 2019 as a knitting and crochet business, and that was mostly because I wanted to start establishing my presence online while I finished the research and developments part of the soap business. 2020, I launched the soap business. I always knew that the knitting and crochet wasn't going to be full time all the time because my hands wouldn't allow it. They were shaky, they were painful. It was never going to be a sustainable long term. So it was always the plan to add in a different product. Happened to be the soap business. And so I've been doing that for about 3, 4 years now. And then I want to say in 2023, during a unexpected medical hiatus, I added in some of the metal smithing that I do because I could work with wire, could work with some of the like lost wax casting that I do, even if I was in the hospital bed. So it kind of allowed me the freedom to still be creative and work on the business, even if different aspects of my capabilities and capacity was shifting constantly. And then it is now, as of 2024, transitioned a little bit to, I want to say, expand to include the service side of my business. I'd always intended to have a service side because I read a lot. I am a data nerd. I enjoy teaching people how to do things that maybe the information wasn't fully accessible to them before. So I'd always planned on rolling it out. I just had to roll it out a little sooner due to some issues. So I'm still product, but I've also had to transition to being a service to meet financial needs, but also the time was right. The community needs it. A lot of the information that's presented out there is presented for service businesses or people with it's not usually catering to product businesses. And so there's a lot of gaps and accessibility gaps. And by that, I mean the info might be there, but it's not always presented in a brain fog friendly way. And so you might read an article and be like, I have no idea what an SEO is. What is this supposed to mean? What am I supposed to do with this? And that's kind of where I step in and be like, hey, I can help this make sense to you and we'll tailor it to your business. Or you're someone like me who has multiple products they make, can help put together something that makes it feel cohesive so that you don't feel trapped in, I have to make just this product. I can make a few different things and still have my business survive. So yeah, my business has kind of changed a lot since 2019, but the core of it is still there, is working accessibility into the industries that I happen to already be in.
That's great. Thank you. It sounds like you've infused a lot of creativity and mentorship into your business to help people, because I think that that's something that people do struggle with, is the, breaking the steps down, making it accessible. And I really appreciate that you can include that into your offerings. So thank you. And so next we're going to go to Ron. Ron, how would you say your business has transformed over time?
So when I started my business, I really believed that this was going to be the only thing I would do. And what happened is, and we're not, we haven't really dug into the topic of disability and how that impacts our ability to engage with other people who would buy our services. But I'm in the world of public transit. There's a lot of bias, there's a lot of discrimination, some of it subtle, some of it not. And I have struggled to gain contracts, in some cases, very explicitly because of disability or and it's detailed. But anyway, I've struggled with scaling, and over time, what I've learned is that I can actually keep my business and focus on the things that I want to focus on, the issues where I truly have expertise. And I can go get another job because now the economy's gotten a little bit better. So I'm now working I have a full-time job working for this company that does accessible on-demand paratransit, which covers benefits and gives me stability. So now I'm able to take my business, which I do in my off time, and I'm able to focus on the projects that I'm really, really good at. I've narrowed my focus. I'm an expert in a few areas that are, sought by other people, and that's really allowed me to be successful more so in both spaces. I actually use the two to reinforce each other. I use my work as a private entrepreneur to support the work that I do for this other company that's providing transportation. And I use both sides to build relationships that I can then leverage for the other side to make both organizations more successful.
That's wonderful. It sounds like you're really harnessing your expertise and also the networking, as you were talking about earlier, to
Mhm.
kind of fuel both parts of like the business, your personal business and the other organization that you talked about. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next is Kevin. How would you say your business has transformed over time?
It has definitely transformed over the years. I originally started the company in 2013 as a website design company and hardware repair company with one of my sons who enjoyed tearing apart computers. I had planned going back to school, being a voc rehab counselor, and on the side having the business. And voc rehab, if you have experience, typically wants you to refine down to one goal. So while talking to one of my mentors, we were really discussing what next steps look like. What is it that I wanted to do with my schooling, what is it that I wanted to do going forward? And during that discussion, my mentor said, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that you want to impact lives with technology. And that truly was the day the official name Tech for Impact was born. So it went really from the idea of doing just websites and computer repairs to more strategically working with assistive technology. And so I started gearing all my school experiences from the practicum to methods to internship, all towards assistive technology. And one of the things that I learned very quickly was that there are not a lot of opportunities for that type of work unless you want to relocate. Most states have assistive technology type people and processes in place, but they're not a plentiful position. And so that is what kind of kept pushing me into creating my own. And as the years continued, I tried to push my company into a full-time position. And I became aware that it just was not going to happen. And that was a frustration, but also it was a reality. And I knew this is the type of work that I wanted to continue to do. And eventually I did there was an opening for a nonprofit that needed someone, really relief on call time. So whenever I had availability, I could work there and continue to do my business. And that continued for 4 or 5 years. And eventually I ended up working full time, similarly to Ron. And last year took on a leadership position there. And I still have my business on the side. And I was shaking my head listening to Ron going, yep, relationship building on both sides, continue to choose projects that I really enjoy. So out of website design work, what really became a passion for mine is digital accessibility and how do we become accessible on our websites, on our digital products. And so for the nonprofit, I created an online course based upon the experience I had because of the web design work. And it informs, of course, on the other side. So I select website design projects that are near and dear to my heart, specifically usually surrounding the mental health community. So things continue to flex. And I think that's the one thing that I learned as an entrepreneur is to be flexible. I heard Ron mention another thing, narrowing down. I know in the beginning when I was trying to push it to a full-time position that I felt like I was just taking on everything, and that really wasn't helpful in a lot of ways. And narrowing down my focus down to training individuals with assistive technology or web design seems to be kind of that niche that I stay within and works well.
Great, thank you. I'm glad you could relate so much to our other panelists. And I'm also glad that you also mentioned Voc Rehab and that it was instrumental in your journey. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. You have quite a few hats that you're wearing in your business. So let's move to Phoenix. Phoenix, how would you say your business has transformed over time?
Oh, it definitely has changed and pivoted. Initially, I started with writing a 17-page handwritten letter to a state agency asking for money to start the business. And at that time, I was able to get the computer equipment and I began selling erotic poetry that I wrote. I did that for several years. Then I added gift bags to that as an accompaniment to it all. I had body hand and body products and adult toys novelties that was a part of the baskets. Afterwards, after I retired again, um, I had nothing to do. So I actually started working on my first product, and that was a machine, a tool that would help people with their wheelchair armrests when they got all messed up. That was my first product. And then in 2000, 10 when I woke up one morning and my left hand was no longer working the way it was when I went to sleep that night. And they ended up finding fluid on my spine, which gave me an extra level of disability on the left side of my body that's not on the right side. That led to me creating the Reacher Keeper, which I am out now promoting. I do have a patent on the idea, and what it does is allow people to use their reachers and be able to not worry about what happens when you drop it. You're able to retrieve your reacher when it drops out of your hand. So I'm in the process of marketing it. It is currently available. What it was, I said I got lost in promoting other people's businesses, so I ended up promoting my own, and that's where I'm at now. Also, I found NDI because I was being a bit in denial and admitting that my disability did have a factor in who was receiving me and how serious they were accepting me. So I did search for an organization that understood that, and that's how I found NDI. They are currently assisting me with setting up a non-emergency wheelchair transportation company, and we'll be focusing on motorized wheelchairs since, as he was saying, the industry just totally ignores disabled individuals, especially the ones that travel in motorized wheelchair. So I'm working at that point to combine the two businesses since it's the same demographics. I'm just about helping make life a little easier for all of us who are disabled, just like most of us are, trying to have a purpose and not just be sitting around and being depressed and finding a way to keep life interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it sounds like you, like some of our other panelists, have really used your health journey to help you inform your products for your business and your services. So that's super fascinating and that's very innovative. And I'm glad you've had the support around you to be able to do that as well.
Also, to mention your small business development centers, they're extremely helpful as well.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to have you start us off with our next one, Phoenix, because you and Kevin kind of both touched on this. So the next question is, what self-care practices have you developed to ensure your business goals are sustainable?
Because I've been working alone, I realized in order to get to the next level, I needed the help. So I searched out, rephrase your question. Repeat that to me again. I kind of lost train of thought.
It's what self-care practices have you
Self-care.
developed to ensure that your business is sustainable? So, like, was it ever that you went to part-time? Was it ever that you took a break? Was it ever that you,
No,
no?
I like being creative. So,
Oh,
at any point, if I get to a point and I need to stop, I stop. But I always choose to go to another point to where I can creatively express myself. And that in and of itself allows me to be stress-free.
awesome.
As far as keeping in there, again, stay focused on not allowing people to tell you no. Sometimes you can listen, but most times if people don't understand what you're going through, they can't empathize or emphasize with what you're trying to do.
That's true. That's very true. Thank you. Thank you. And then Kevin, let's have you talk about that next.
I
What
would
sort of
say
self-care practices have you developed to ensure your business is sustainable?
I think the main catalyst for me was when I came across the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. The acronym is called WRAP, and it is really a formation of creating, I'll call it a book about yourself, a pamphlet that you can have for your internal use, so you can give it to reinforcement team members. But it really is about your symptoms and what things look like when things are breaking down, when things get to crisis, and what things you want in place or you have found to be helpful over time. So the Wellness Recovery Action Plan creates kind of a toolbox of different things that you know could be helpful for you. And that was really what sparked everything, I would say. I had presented to a class at my university a couple of years ago, and in there I was sharing some resources. So I shared a web page of the resources in the chat, and it kind of talks about, the first section is about RAP. It talks about some of the apps I've used. I've been heavily influenced by books, specifically books that talk about routines and habits and how to form them, how to keep them, sustain them. And there's a listing of books of various things that have influenced me over time. But in short, really creating a daily routine of things that I know that are good for me. For example, I like to do yoga as the start of my morning. So I set aside some time and carve out some yoga time after I eat my breakfast. And I also enjoy now to bike ride. So I carve out time to do bike riding. And those kinds of things are important, as well as one of my favorites is downtime, where I'm just simply recharging and numbing out. So kind of a balance of exercise. A number of years ago, I guess about 6 years ago, I became involved in getting meal kits with my youngest. We were bored with the food I was making. I was a reheater and wasn't anything to write home about. So we started doing meal kits together, and now I've become an avid cook and baker as something that I find extremely relaxing. So there's all sorts of things to find and do, and it's a matter of, I think, trial and error. And in the end, it's like asking yourself, did this fill my bucket or did this take away? And when you're an entrepreneur, you're going to spend probably more hours than you would working at a full-time position. So certainly self-care is an important piece.
Great, thank you. It sounds like you're very passionate about the things that you enjoy, like cooking and baking, and I love how that evolved. So we are going to ask Loopy and Ron the same question, then we're probably going to switch over to Q&A. Is that okay, Nikki? So Loopy, what?
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute. Yes, we actually are very short on time and we do have several questions. So, but don't want to interrupt anybody's ability because I think this will resonate with folks.
Okay, so we're going to make this our last question, and we have Loopy and Ron. So Loopy, can you tell us what self-care practices you've developed to ensure your business goals are sustainable?
I'll let you guys know when I figure them all out. The main one I can is making sure I have time with friends, whether they're business friends or non-business friends. Me and one of my business friends, we hop on a Zoom or a Google Meet call once a week and we just hang out. Sometimes we're talking business, sometimes we're just screeching like pterodactyls. So finding time to let yourself be silly while also acknowledging that as a small business owner, sometimes you have to work 800 hours an hour, an hour a week. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for reminding us to play. Okay, Ron, how about you? What self-care practices have you developed to help keep your business sustainable?
So I hate being the very last one between everybody and what they really want to know. So I'm going to try to go quick. First off, self-care has two edges for me. One edge is the edge of what we typically think of as self-care, which we've talked about, and the other speakers have done a great job. Finding those things that make you feel better, that rejuvenate you, that recharge you, that help you to recenter, to gain your energy. Those are important. They differ for everybody. the other edge to me of self-care is what Stephen Covey refers to as sharpening the saw, which is the tool, you. And we need to think about both. And part of self-care is making yourself better. It is challenging yourself to do better. It's learning from mistakes. It's reflecting. For me, I spent a lot of time writing and reflecting on what did I do, what worked, what didn't, why not, what did I learn, all that kind of stuff, and how can I do it different next time. These are all things reading, reading books, whether it's something from Tony Robbins or something from James Clear on habits or something from Oliver Berkman on time, just really trying to make myself a better human, because to the extent that I'm better, I can do more. And then the other side of self-care, the rest, the relaxation, the therapy, the rejuvenation, I think all of those things are important.
Great. Thank you so much. All of you have developed some really great self-care practices, and that was actually my favorite question on here. So I'm glad that we got to it. And Nikki, we're going to turn it over to you for the Q&A. So thanks everybody for your wonderful sharing today.
Great. Can you hear me? Because I'm having trouble putting my camera back on. So as long as you can hear me, I think we'll be okay.
We can hear you, Nikki.
Okay, perfect. All right. Don't know. My camera's decided it's gone to sleep. Okay. All right. So we do have several questions. We are not going to be able to get to all of them. So, several of them are around past plans, and so I did put past plan information into the chat. I can put it again, but it's the link to the past plan page for Social Security. There's a lot of information there. You can contact your local benefit planners. They can help you with that. The specific question actually was for you, Loopy. Who did you use? Oh no, it wasn't Loopy that used a past plan. It was.
I did. It's Phoenix.
That's right. It was Phoenix. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
That's
Who
okay.
did you use to help you? Or you probably didn't get help because you worked for Social Security and you knew how to do it. Is that right?
Actually, I was in the process. I had a business plan from the Women Entrepreneurs of Baltimore, and I presented that to them. But you don't have to do that for the past plan. You just have to write out what it is that you want to do, show them how you're going to spend the money, and just keep abreast of updating them. That's the important part, is to always update and report to them so you don't get an overpayment.
Right. Okay, super. And you can always remember, anybody, the contact stuff is actually on your screen right now for everyone. So if you want to contact anybody with further questions, please do. Okay, another question. It's kind of a three-part question and we're gonna run out of time. But do you work as a sole proprietor? Do any of you have a management team? Do you hire employees? And if you do hire employees, do you hire your peers who are disabled so they can also have employment?
I can take a stab at this. It's Kevin, and I have gone through a couple of different stages where I'm back to solo. I started as solo and then started taking on employees. I did specifically hire individuals that had disabilities to help with some projects. And as I continue to push the company into more of a full-time gig, unfortunately, that didn't happen as I described before. So I'm back down to being a solo gig.
And I'll add to that. This is Ron. First off, the business structure is probably going to be a little bit dependent on the state that you're in and the situation of your income and your taxes and all that kind of stuff. I am incorporated as a C Corp, small business, and that was for tax reasons that made the most sense. I am currently a sole proprietor, and but set up as a C Corp. So, and that was again done with the advice of a tax planner because I don't know this stuff. I have typically done my own work. However, I have brought people on I have brought them on as independent contractors and typically job specific. I do, and we didn't get to talk about this, but I have made a conscious decision to partner with other companies who can do stuff that I'm not particularly good or fast at. Because for two reasons. One, I gain from those relationships. Everybody that they know, I now know, and everybody that I know, they now know. So we've got referral agreements in place for revenue finding and all sorts of things. So I've really used relationships with other parties to do a lot of what people would traditionally bring staff on to do. And then for anything that's technical where I need to bring somebody on, I bring them on projects specifically with 1099s as an independent contractor.
Wonderful.
I just,
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Yep. Sorry.
I was going to say that when I first started and I was selling my poems, I was a sole proprietor. But when I went into into my products, I did incorporate as a LLC.
Great. Okay, thank you. We are actually a little over time, so I am going to have to cut us off again. Contact anybody from any of the panels today and yesterday. All of the contact information is at the site. Reminder that all of the recordings will be up starting Monday, but all the other information is there. A lot of the wealth of information is also in those exhibit booths. Many of your questions can be answered through visiting those. So please do that. And please fill out the survey for this session and the one that is there for overall, so we get great feedback. Every year we learn something new, we hear from you, we listen, and we change things around accordingly. Many of the topics have come from suggestions coming from you. So please take a minute to do that. Everything is available, reminder, for 60 days. So you can always come back if you don't have time right now. All right. Okay. Well, with that, thank you to this amazing panel, Neena, for emceeing it for us and organizing it, and Kevin and Ron and Loopy and Phoenix. Just wonderful insight, and thank you so much for your time. And to everybody, thank you for being here with us. And with that, we are going to say goodbye for our 4th annual one. So hopefully we'll see you all next year, because there will be another one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks so
Goodbye.
much.